Hello everybody, how are you all doing? Jimmy here, back with another video. Today, my friends, we're going to be talking about the ideal situation for Gen 4 remakes. So, before we get started, I want to say thank you to everyone who has been following me on this journey of the Road to Diamond and Pearl Remakes series. And we've went really far with this series. I'm very happy with how it always turns out, and I'm hoping you all feel the same. So now let's get into the video. So basically in this video, I'm going to be telling you all, in my opinion, the ideal situation for Pokemon Diamond and Pearl Remakes. And before we get started, I just want to say two words to you straight off the bat. Mega Evolution, which the way I pronounced it almost sounded like three words, but no, it is indeed two words. But here's the thing, okay? With Mega Evolution, I think a lot of people think that there's no hope that we're getting Mega Evolution in this game. In the last episode of Road to Diamond and Pearl Remakes, we actually talked about how this new game will probably have Dynamaxing, but I wanted to flip the script and really analyze what if actually Nintendo and Game Freak and all these people involved in the company, because now, if you didn't know it or not, Game Freak moved into the same company, the building as Nintendo's in, one of their branches. So think about this, okay? Nintendo is probably going to be helping a lot with this game as opposed to other games. So maybe Nintendo will say, hey, you know what? Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing wasn't really a fan favorite feature, and I think it would be better off if we went the Mega Evolution route. Well, here's the thing, straight up, we're not getting Dynamax Palkia or Dynamax Dialga. It's just not going to happen. We may get Gigantamax Giratina. We're not probably going to get a new form for any of those in that way. We're probably going to get primal forms of each one, because if you didn't know this already, a primal form for Dialga has actually been out for years now. I will actually include a picture of it right now. Primal Dialga has actually been appearing in games. He appeared in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time and Explorers of Darkness, which was actually a really good Mystery Dungeon game. If you did not play it, I'd recommend it. Now, I will read to you a little bit what Bulbapedia has to say about Primal Dialga. Primal Dialga is actually Dialga after losing control of its ability to manipulate time due to a collapse of the temporal tower. In this form, it is also incapable of logical reasoning or showing mercy, and only seeking self-preservation and preserving time from flowing properly. The player must return the time gears to the tower to restore the flow of time, calm down Dialga, and prevent future where darkness rules. Like all Dialga, this one is treated as genderless for gameplay purposes. However, it is addressed with masculine pronouns in dialogue. That's why they actually write gender male on here, and they also include a small little sprite photo of it. I'll put that in there too, but basically here's the thing, okay? With Primal Dialga, he's basically, lost his touch as to what's going on. You know, he used to be able to control time, now he just can't do it anymore, so he's losing his mind a little bit. And I think this would be a really cool way to kind of turn the legendaries against, the trainer, because they really haven't pulled a stunt like that before. And you have to remember, a lot of people are going to tell me, no, I want Sinnoh remakes to be exactly the same. The Sinnoh remakes are not going to be exactly the same. If you think they're going to be exactly the same, I hate to tell you this, but they're not going to be exactly the same. If anything, they're going to be more different than Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire were. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire really changed a lot of things, but I feel like these will change even more because more time has passed. We're probably going to have Gigantamaxing and Dynamaxing included in the game to some degree, because there's no way Pokemon wants to throw out everything they just did with Sword and Shield. There's absolutely no way. But I think there may be a climate where Mega Evolution and Dynamaxing Gigantamax can actually coexist, which would be really cool, because there's a lot of people on both ends of the spectrum here. We want Mega Evolutions, we want Dynamax, we want this, we want that, but what if we got, Mega Evolutions of Dialga and Palkia? They really usually don't do stuff like that, but just think for a second, what if they did it? That would be really, really crazy. I mean, we have seen legendaries get Mega Evolutions before. We know it's possible. We know Mewtwo got 2 Mega Evolutions. We know Latios, Latias, they got Mega Evolutions as well. So it's definitely possible for them to actually skip this whole primal thing with these legendaries and give us an actual Mega Evolution for them. So you have to remember, that's also a possibility as well. But I think the fact Primal Dialga is already out, maybe they won't use him, just because this story is very much so tied into the Explorers of Time and Explorers of Darkness Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. And the thing is that this Primal Dialga was first seen in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time and Explorers of Darkness, but he was also seen in Pokemon Mystery Dungeons Explorers of Sky, which I forgot to mention that. Primal Dialga was not only seen in that first game, he actually was seen in another game too, and this one is actually a gender male because they use masculine, like I said, pronouns when they refer to him. So here we go, okay? We know that there's more than one Dialga, there's more than one Palkia. What if they did some crazy stuff to where they, separate the old game and then they make this new game kind of like the legendaries are losing their touch and just going crazy, and you have to calm them down and different things. I think they could totally turn this little mystery dungeon thing they have here into a full-fledged Pokemon game if they wanted to go that route. I could totally see something like this happening, and I think that it's totally cool and interesting to assume that something like this could happen. Now, we also have to think about some other things, all right? Because when it comes to Diamond and Pearl remakes, I feel more pressure is on Game Freak than ever with these remakes. And you may say, Jimmy, why is there more pressure than ever on Game Freak with these remakes? Well, here's the thing. The last 2 Pokemon generations, and arguably 3, have not been received well. X and Y was received okay. Sun and Moon was received pretty badly. Sword and Shield was received horrible. Like, nobody liked it. Like, a lot of people went crazy and hated on it. I personally thought it was better than Sun and Moon, but that's just my low-key opinion. A lot of people don't agree with me there. They think I'm completely wrong. But here's the thing, okay? They don't want to keep treading down this path of just negativity towards their beloved franchise. You have to keep in mind, Game Freak, this is their baby. Pokemon is their baby. They want people to love it. And actually, a lot of the employees at Game Freak were actually very depressed when they heard the way that Sword and Shield was received, because you have to understand, Sun and Moon and X and Y weren't received well, but Sword and Shield was, like, destroyed. Like, everyone just went out of their way to hate on it. And it seems to me that, they want to get away from this. And I think that Game Freak is not in the position, and I'm not being mean here, I just don't think they're in the position to give us an amazing new generation. So by refining a story they gave us while they were in their prime, I think they can pull off this game and make it one of the best Pokemon games ever created. Because if you watched Hoops and Hip Hop's new video, his new video is about how Diamond and Pearl remakes could be the best games of all time for the Pokemon series. And I had thought to myself, I wrote it off before I watched the video, I'm thinking, yeah, there's no way. But he brings up a lot of solid points, and it kind of inspired me to make this video, because I feel that Game Freak is not in their prime right now, but they could still make us an absolutely amazing game, because they have the blueprints from when they put together an amazing game. Pretty much just Pokemon Platinum. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl were great games too, but they had a lot of technical problems. Pokemon Platinum kind of refined everything and made us see what's so great about this generation. Maybe if Platinum was never a thing, Diamond and Pearl would have been looked at a lot differently. And maybe people wouldn't have really liked it as much as they ultimately ended up liking it. That could have been something that could have definitely happened. But I personally think that with all the stuff that's happening in Pokemon right now, the 25th anniversary, all the celebration, they want this game to be received well, and I think Nintendo wants it to be received well too, just because of the fact that, Nintendo sees how these games are being received. They know that it's selling absolutely amazing, and that, like, nothing's messing with Pokemon right now. It's like the best-selling media franchise of all time, so they can pretty much just do whatever they want. But under the same token, I don't think Nintendo really wants it to be, like that bad of a game either. They still want it to be, relatively good and relatively well accepted, because obviously you don't want to put a game out there on Switch where everybody's performing pretty much in tip-top condition, tip-top shape. Everybody's games that are coming out right now are doing much better than they were on other consoles. You don't want to, keep the streak going of bad Pokemon games. Let's Go was just a remake of the original Pokemon, the 151 Pokemon were in it. And it was a remake of a remake, which is something I feel that we should probably get away with for the time being. Obviously, we want to see Diamond and Pearl come back in like 2030 or 2040, but I'm saying like right now, I think we can go another 10 years without Diamond and Pearl remakes, or at least another 7-8 years without seeing them again, assuming that they do come out this year, because obviously you don't want to just keep re-releasing remakes. I mean, like the remake of a remake, you had Pokemon Red and Blue, then you had Fire Red, Leaf Green, then you had Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu. Just because they're changing the names up for that third remake doesn't mean that it's not a third remake. It definitely is a third remake, and I think that, they need to stray away from stuff like that. We need to see an amazing remake. This game could sell so well if it is, the hype level for Sinnoh remakes is off the charts. This game could outsell Sword and Shield, I'm going to say it. I know remakes never sell as well as mainline games, but I'm going to say it right here, right now. You can come to this video when I am right, assuming that Diamond and Pearl remakes actually happen. You can come back to this video and you can confirm what I am saying here. I'm trying to say that Diamond and Pearl remakes are going to sell better than Sword and Shield. They're going to be received better, and they're overall going to be better looking games, and that's another thing I wanted to get into, okay? Graphics. Now, we know graphics with Game Freak is not exactly their strong suit. I mean, they lied to us and told us the reason the graphics weren't that great is because they were redesigning all the Pokemon, and then we found out they were just all upscaled Sun and Moon, Pokemon X and Y, Pokemon Go models. But here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing. With these remakes, the the level of hype is so high that I think they're going to try something new, all right? I think they're going to try something new. I'm not saying they're going to give us all new Pokemon forms, because let's be realistic here. They're never giving you all new Pokemon forms. They have their 3D models, and that's what they're going to use probably for the next 10 years. They've been using them since 2013, I think. I don't see what's stopping them in 2021 from using them, you know? I don't see anything stopping them, right? I don't, straight up. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes are going to have better graphics than Sword and Shield and the Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee games. I'm going to say that too, because I think that Game Freak is learning what we want. Game Freak is learning what our expectations are with this game and what we want to see actually come out of this game. You know, we don't want to see another game that looks like Sword and Shield. Now, if it's a more if it's a more refined looking Sword and Shield, which is actually I think a very high likelihood of happening, then I don't really see that as a bad thing. You know, it may not look that great, but under the same token, I mean, if we can fix up some of those trees, we can fix some of the frame rate drops when you go into the wild areas, because I assume this game is going to be open world to some capacity. There's plenty of areas in the Sinnoh region that will work well being implemented in the open world style, and I have no doubt in my head that Game Freak's going to try to milk that, because Game Freak sees that, you know, open world games are really hot right now, and they probably want to capitalize on the fact that people just love open world games. I myself love open world games. Breath of the Wild kind of refined open world games. The Witcher 3 was considered one of the greatest open world games as well. I mean, GTA 5, Red Dead Redemption 2, there's so many amazing open world games, and mixing open world with RPG works out surprisingly well. Like, it really, really, really does, and I think that they could pull it off. You know, I have my doubts with Game Freak, but due to the fact they already have the blueprints for this game, it's going to be hard for them to mess this up. And I know I'm going to regret saying that, because, you know, anything's possible. It's totally possible they somehow managed to ruin the Sinnoh region, and that's another thing you have to think about. A lot of people are scared for these games because of Game Freak's track record. A lot of people don't even want them to make it. They're thinking to themselves, I hope Game Freak doesn't even make these games. I hope this doesn't even happen. I don't like the direction that Game Freak's going. The lying, the DLCs, when we already spent $60 when the games used to be $40. A lot of people don't like this direction that Game Freak's going in. I mean, we spent $30 on these old Pokemon games, and they had so much backstory after you beat the game, stuff to do at the end of the game, all sorts of stuff to do. And now we're spending $60, literally double the amount, right? Keep that in your head, literally double. And we're getting way less content here, right? Like, that's not right, okay? Straight up, it's just not right. And Nintendo, Game Freak, anyone else who's helping with this game, because who knows, they may, you know, get some more help. I'm thinking Monolith Soft, if I had to take a guess on who else could help with this game, if they're going with the open world direction. I think Monolith Soft could definitely help with this, and they could probably make it great, but you know, whoever is in charge of this, please give us enough content to satisfy us. Like, I think, like, you know, there should be enough stuff to do in these games to rack up 100 hours. I racked up almost 90 hours in Pokemon Platinum, and I did not do everything in the game. I just did the Pokédex, and I beat the game, right? I didn't do any of the other things. You could go into other caves with different legendaries, the underground. There's all sorts of stuff you could do in Pokemon Platinum that I didn't even do, and I racked up almost 100 hours, so I feel like 100 hours to complete this entire game would actually make a lot of sense. Call me crazy, tell me I'm wrong, but under the same token, I think that I'm right. I mean, in Soul Silver Heart Gold, they gave us a whole nother region. They literally gave us a whole nother region to mess with. Like, you can't give me just a little bit after I beat the game? Like, that's unexcusable, and there should be no DLC here. That's the final thing I want to talk about in this video. DLC with Game Freak, right? So, you know, DLC's really been great for Game Freak. They made a lot of money off the Crown Tundra and the Isle of Armor. They made a lot of money. We know that for a fact now. We don't know exact sales figures, but, I mean, let's be realistic here. We know it sold well. We know it didn't do badly. The original game, Pokemon Sword and Shield, sold so well, and it had, like, nothing to do in it. So, of course, you know, to add more to the game, it's going to sell well, right? Well, here's the thing, okay? The game sold incredibly well, so I'm just assuming based off that the DLC sold well. We don't know actual sales numbers at this point on how well the DLC actually sold, but I think it's safe to assume it sold really well. So now the Game Freak's going, oh, instead of releasing a third version of the game, we could just drop some DLC and people will love it. They will eat it up if we dropped some DLC, because they would rather spend $30 again than spend $60. And yes, we would, but when we've already spent $60 on a game and the games used to be $30, you see what I'm going through here? Do you see what I'm going through here? They're going to milk this game, right? They're going to drop it for $60, this new remake, and then they're going to drop DLC, and I hope that they don't do it, because that would be so stupid. to do to us, right? It's a remake. There should be no DLC for a remake. Include everything. Don't make the post-game DLC like you did with Sword and Shield. There was like nothing to do at the end of Sword and Shield. Literally Swordbert and Shieldbert, that whole thing there, and then it was done, okay? There was nothing to do after that. That should not be the case with this game. This game should actually have all the information and all the stuff that was going to be in the game, already in the game from the original remakes, plus added content. That's what I'm saying. If they do this right and they don't mess it up, I don't see how this ends up being a short Pokemon game. This is definitely going to be one of the longest Pokemon games, if not the longest we've ever got, because you know, with the open world areas, with all these areas, they're probably going to add to the Diamond and Pearl remakes. I just don't see how this could go bad. I don't see how it could go bad, straight up. I think that these games are going to be remembered as the greats of the Switch, and they're going to look even better on Switch Pro, and maybe that's what they're waiting for. Maybe Game Freak, they want to put out some crazy graphics. Shut everybody up that said Sword and Shield was ugly, because it pretty much was. But, you know, shut everybody up and tell everybody, look at the graphics we're giving you now on the Switch Pro in 4K Pokemon. You know, that would be crazy. Look at the original Pokemon Diamond and Pearl graphics. And yes, they look cutesy for their time, and I still love the art style and the direction that they went with. But picture this look in 4K. That would be amazing. And you know, there's always going to be something nostalgic about the sprites and everything that I will never stop loving, and that's something that I think is just in me. It's my nostalgia goggles, I think, coming on. So I can't really sit here and act like, you know, that they should just keep making 2D games, but I would love to see a new 2D game. Like, to say that I wouldn't love to see a feature that you can change the graphics from 2D to 3D, because there was a rumor about that, suggesting that there would be a way to switch the graphics from 2D to 3D. I just think that would be crazy. You know, I mean, imagine switching the graphics from 2D to 3D, looking at your past and looking at your future on this 4K Switch Pro. I mean, just imagine the possibilities of that, because I think a lot of people are not realizing that this game is going to drop in like November. We will probably have a Switch Pro by then if everything goes the way that we think it will go. We will probably have a Switch Pro, and this will probably be the blowout title besides Breath of the Wild 2. Breath of the Wild 2 is going to drop first, assuming the Switch Pro is coming out this year. Breath of the Wild is going to drop too. Breath of the Wild is going to drop too. Breath of the Wild 2 is going to drop. And then we're going to see Pokemon Dazzling Diamond and, you know, Primal Pearl, whatever they decided. I just came up with those because I'm looking at this Primal Dialga picture right here. I probably should have said it the other way around, but whatever. Does not matter, okay? With these games, Game Freak has a lot on their chest, and I think they need to realize that. What they're going to give us here is probably going to be great just because they had an entire year to work on it. Don't try to convince me the Isle of Armor and the Crown Tundra took them a year to do. They were not working on that all year. They dropped it in October, and I highly doubt they put more than 4 months into it, okay? Most Pokemon games are in development for 3 years, right? And they come out every year, so think about that. This game's pretty much had 4 years of development, plus 4 years of development before on the original game. It's been in development for literally like 8 years at this point, if you count the original game. If you count Platinum, even more than that, almost 10 years of games for this little Sinnoh circle of games in the Pokemon franchise. They've been in business for a long time making these games, so nobody can sit here and tell me that they don't have the resources to make this game great. They have more money than like any other game company to work with. I mean, there's a couple that obviously have more, but I'm saying in the grand scheme of things, they have more than enough money and resources to pull the full potential out of the Switch and give us a downright beautiful title, and that's why I refuse to believe that Game Freak's going to mess this one up. I just think they're going to do it right, and I'm looking forward to this. And I think the people that are scared for this game, I don't think you have a lot to worry about. I really don't. I think these games are going to be great, and they're going to serve their purpose as the great blowout Switch Pokemon games that we've yet to receive. We got them on the 3DS. We got Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, everybody's favorite 3DS game. There's no way that it's not mine. I mean, let's be realistic here. The 3DS era of Pokemon games was pretty much just as bad as Switch's. I mean, they've pretty much fallen from grace ever since Black and White 2. Like, let's be realistic here. Pokemon and Game Freak haven't put out a great game since Black and White 2, and that's just the harsh truth. I'm not trying to hate. I'm not, all right? I love this franchise more than I think I love some people, right? They need to really bring us back to that time when Pokemon made amazing games, and not every Pokemon game felt exactly the same as the one before it. I mean, Island Challenge was the most differentiation we got in Pokemon games for like 10 years. Like, let that sink in. That's like what we had to look forward to as like the big difference in games, right? Most game franchises have actual differences that are actually visible. You know, you can see like, wow, like look at the Final Fantasy series, right? I mean, some of them even have totally different RPG elements than other ones do. Pokemon has never tried to shake up the formula besides Mega Evolutions and Dynamax and Z-moves and all these gimmicks. but really at the end of the day, they don't add anything. They just look more complicated to an outsider looking into the franchise, thinking of themselves, I think I'm going to buy a Pokemon game. They just make it look more complicated and, more fun for them, looking in, thinking to themselves, wow, they have changed a lot. No, they haven't. They blew up the Pokemon, made them huge, and gave them ununique moves that, depending on the type, there's like 1 to 2 moves per type. Like that, come on. Like, I just can't do that, right? I can't have another Pokemon game like that. I just cannot do it. And I know this episode of Road to Diamond and Pearl Remakes is going on longer than it probably should. I just want to cut right to the chase and give you guys like my final thoughts here. So let's go over everything here. Straight up, I think we need to see either Primal forms or Mega Evolution forms for the legendaries. I know I was going back and forth at the beginning, but I was thinking like which one would I like to see, because these videos are not written out, right? Like I don't write anything here. Okay, the original one was written out and I just didn't like how it turned out, so I've never written out another video in this series ever since then. They've never been written out since then. So here's the thing, right? Primal or Mega Evolutions, I don't want to see Gigantamax and Gigantamax, but if we do see it, I'd like to see it, subdued in like its own little area, because I highly doubt they're going to get rid of it completely, but I'd like to see it, implemented in the game to some degree. I mean, I wouldn't like to see it, but I think Game Freak would like to see it, so I'll give them that. Put it in the game to some degree, I don't care, whatever, but just don't make it the main priority of the game, because you'd be retconning Sword and Shield story too, unless you tell us that this is an alternate dimension. I hate when people do that. It's the same thing that they did in Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, which has nothing to do with Game Freak. But they just retconned half a Breath of the Wild story and said, oh, that's just how it works. Now, no one knows, is it canon? Is it not canon? Like, is Breath of the Wild the one that's not canon? Is Breath of the Wild 2 going to take the story in a whole direction? Nobody even knows, right? It's all pure speculation at this point because they messed up the timeline. They split it again. I don't want to see that. Another thing I don't want to see is DLC. I think we should have every single thing in the game that they were planning on giving us day one. I do not want to see, like, catch Arceus in the DLC. Like, no, I don't want to see that. Poké and Dialga need to be put on a pedestal. These games need to be great, okay? I'm looking forward to them, and these were the games I grew up with, and I know I say that in every single video, but they really were, and I'm looking forward to that. The DLC needs to be implemented into the game so that there is no DLC. It's just post-game content like a normal game gives you when they're charging you $60 for a game that literally has horrible graphics, and that's the next thing I want to get onto for my final thoughts here. The graphics. We know they're not going to be absolutely amazing, but I think they're going to be better graphics. And assuming the Switch Pro's out with all that 4K upscaling magic, these games may end up looking like the best Pokemon games we've ever seen, right? Because a lot of people thought they went backwards, and I agree with them. From Let's Go to Sword and Shield, there was definitely some backwards there in terms of graphical appearance, right? The games went from looking good to looking bad, and that's something that I don't want to see continue. I don't want to see these games look even worse than their predecessors, because I totally think that it is actually strangely possible, and I'm really hoping that that doesn't happen here. And those were basically the main things I wanted to talk about in this video. So I do think that these could be the greatest games in the Pokemon series. We know Heart Gold and Soul Silver are pretty much hailed as the greatest games in the series. Personally, for me, it's Platinum, but a lot of people say Heart Gold, Soul Silver, or they say Black and White or Black, White 2, whatever. But those are like, the DS era Pokemon games are all argued to be some of the greatest games in the Pokemon series without a doubt. We know that a remake can be absolutely amazing. We know that Game Freak has the blueprints to make this game great, and we want to see it happen. We want to see this come to fruition. We already have the game confirmed by very well-known leakers, everybody. This is probably going to happen like 100% this year. It's the 15th anniversary, but here's another thing I was thinking, right? It's only the 15th anniversary if you consider it coming out in Japan first, right? They may try to pull something where they pretend like next year's the 15th anniversary, because technically it's only the 14th in America, right? So they may try to give it to us in 2022. Don't forget about that, because that is a possibility that could actually happen. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, Jimmy, there's no way they do something like that. But believe it or not, there is actually a way they do something like that, because Game Freak, they do some strange things sometimes that we can't pretend like they don't do, okay? They're not exactly the company that plays by the rules, I guess you could say, follows their own rules. They said they wouldn't be doing DLC. They gave us DLC. They said they wouldn't be making any more Let's Go games. There's rumors of new Let's Go games, but obviously we think that's probably not going to happen, but who knows? We could be looking at Let's Go Sinnoh, which I think I would actually cry. I think I would actually cry if Let's Go Sinnoh became a thing, just because of the fact that Let's Go games, I feel like for me, are exclusively for the Pokemon Go audience and everything, and I just don't want to see them ruin my beloved Sinnoh like that, and I know a lot of people don't either, but, you know, honestly, if whatever they're going to end up doing, we will find out later this year. There's no way they let the 25th anniversary of Pokemon go without a game. Whether we're getting a new region, whether we're getting Diamond and Pearl remakes, we're getting something this year, and I think that is the moral of the story that I'm trying to come to here. We have to be excited. These games have to be good. They're the 25th anniversary games. Would you want to look back on these games as Game Freak? Put yourself in Game Freak's position. Would you want to look back at your 25th anniversary? Because let's be realistic here. Nintendo doesn't care about the zeros. They only care about the fives. Like the 30th anniversary of Pokemon, who cares? But the 25th or the 35th or the 45th or the 15th or the 5th, those matter. Would you want to look back at your 25th anniversary, Game Freak, and see that your games were not received well, and see that the games were, you know, bad games, that they ruined the Sinnoh region, that people now they look differently at Sinnoh? Would you want to do that to this great and beautiful region of Pokemon? Because I know I wouldn't want to see you do it. I really just would not want to see you do it. But those are just my thoughts on the whole Sinnoh remake thing. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Diamond and Pearl Remakes Road, or what I just butchered the name, the Road to Diamond and Pearl Remakes. Thank you to everyone who watched this video. Thank you to everyone who stayed at the end. If you did stay to the end, it would mean an absolute lot to me if you gave this video a thumbs up or left me a comment down below telling me what you think about this whole thing. I know you all enjoy these videos, and these videos take a super long time to edit, especially this video, because of how much longer it is than the other videos in the series. So like I said, a thumbs up or a comment or a subscription would mean a whole lot to me, just because of the fact that I will be making more of these videos in the future, because I know you guys all really like them. Anyways, thank you for watching so much. Thank you for being with me throughout this journey up to this point. I mean, this is the first Road to Diamond and Pearl video that we have that Sinnoh was confirmed as a coming remake by a credible leaker. All the other ones were just, you know, we were shooting in the dark, but this episode, we were not shooting in the dark. We actually think we're on to something at this point, and I think it's fair to say that these games are actually going to happen. I mean, obviously, there's still a high chance that Nintendo and Game Freak could totally take this in a totally different direction, so keep that in your mind. Keep your expectations in line, because you don't want to be disappointed when Let's Go Sinnoh comes out, because there's actually a chance it could happen. They said no more Let's Go games, but trust me, it could happen. Anyways, thank you everybody so much for joining me in this video. Thank you for watching. Jimmy out of here. Thank you again for your support, and thank you to all my Poke fans.